best entertainment on the earth. Tune in for Comics with Perch.
Hey everybody, this is Perch. Let's go with this mail here. It says, "Dear Perch, I feel like there's a prevailing sense of hopelessness among American comic book fans and pros. Hopeless. It's how. By the way, before we get to the rest of the mail, one of the things about comic books is I've always loved, and I don't know if this strikes a tone with you or not, but it's how hopeful they are. It's that anything is possible. It's that comics. You read these things and you're buckling in for a story that could take you anywhere. And if you look at where I've been irritated with comics, it's when the comics don't do that. Instead, it's like, comics could do anything, but this is a comic about the characters eating lunch. It's like, that's not exciting. Unless they're eating at an Arby's and there's threat of imminent death. I don't. That's not. That's not living up to the promise of can do anything. So it's depressing. I'm watching Ted Lasso. I don't know if any of you are watching that show, but the show has kind of devolved a little bit into long, lingering shots of Jason Sudeikis or Ted Lasso just kind of staring sad at a computer screen, and you get the feeling the guy. Well, they not get the feeling. It's his character right now. He's hopelessly depressed, just thoroughly depressed, and it's a dynamic of a guy who is this upbeat, positive, glass half full. Come on, guys, we can believe. But inside of himself, it's rotted. He's down. He's depressed, and that's how I feel. When I engage with comics a little bit, very hopeful, very optimistic, like, look, anything can happen, guys. Let's go. Anything can go on. And yet all the stupid shenanigans are it's created that inner empty pit. This video got darker than I intended. Let's go back to the mail. It says, on one side, many comic skaters have embraced the accelerationist mindset of wanting the American comic industry to die. While on the other side, you have people who deny there are any problems to begin with. By the way, I got some mails. I did a video a couple bits ago where somebody called in to kind of go, nah, you should have figured this out 5 years ago. I don't know. You may remember the video. And about a few people, like not one, not three, but about six, mailed saying, you're not allowed to say Comicsgate and get that name out of your mouth. That's our thing. It's weird. It's super, super weird. And, I have no idea and I'm sure lots of people speculate, oh, that's a deep fake thing. It's some people who are not on that side trying to make us look bad, or I have no idea. That I haven't gotten that one before. Get your name out of your mouth. Yikes. Anyway, for fuck's sake, people. Back to the mail. I was shocked when I heard that Image CFO Eric Larson had said there is nothing American comics can learn from manga. I was equally mortified listening to your video about Jim Lee's poor leadership at DC. These sound like men who have completely given up on comics. I'm sure Larson is one of those people who argue that comics are doing better than ever, but in that Facebook post, he sounded almost fatalistic. Larson is fairly fatalistic. I don't think he would argue comics are better than ever. I mean, he sees the numbers, but I think he's been this way for a while. It's kind of the mindset of, yeah, but this is just the way it is. It's accepting the state it's in, as opposed to pushing and rushing for disruption. Jim Lee's a different story. The guy's loaded. I mean, I don't think he sits around going, comics are doing better than ever, but I think he does sit around going, I'm doing better than ever, because he is. Anyway. Back to the mail. Discourse around comics got so bad that talk about the problems within the industry has almost completely replaced the actual discussion about comic books themselves. I hate the let it all burn it down attitude of many CGers, but I do understand how they got to that place. How do you help an industry that doesn't want to get better? How do you not lose hope for American comics? Well, you be like Ted Lasso and you put on that smile, and then you're dead inside. That's what you do. Whereas my grandfather used to say, take all that pain and put it in your stomach and just bury it deep down in a little pit, and it will absolutely be fine. That will never come back to haunt you in the future. I'm joking, of course. He didn't give that advice. He gave lots of really good advice. I miss him. He was a great guy. Definitely, he fought in World War II and definitely carried a lot of kind of those feelings forward in life, which every now and then I run across somebody who's like, the next time you go to Thanksgiving with your grandparents or something, they start saying things that are, somewhat racist. You need to call them out and tell them that they're going to hell and flip the table on them. It's like, yeah, you could do that, or you could look across the table and see the person who's in their late 80s and go, yeah, this person, this person as a child lived through kind of a war, and that might still scar them a little bit. It turns out they didn't have TikTok to get over things quickly back then. So, maybe is this person in charge of, the nuclear armament of the country? No, then maybe don't worry spending the last couple of years of this person's life lecturing them. Maybe just understand how they got there, be thankful you're not there, and move along. No, it's not me saying tolerate racism. It's me saying understanding each other is a pretty good tenet of not being racist, as it turns out. Anyway, what's funny is I love Japan. As you've heard in these videos, I'm a huge. I tomorrow I would go live there if I could. I've spent several years of my life in Japan. Good friends in Japan. Godfather of my kid in Japan. Definitely, deep friends, deep love for that country. My grandfather was not on the same page with that, but you know what? He still treated me fine, and it is what it is. Look, I think that there is a sense of hopelessness in comics, and I think one of the things, if you can't lecture the fans to say, hey, stop being upset at the things you're upset with. That won't work. You can try that, but it's not going to go anywhere. So I think the advice has to turn to the people inside of comics and the kind of hangers on, the people hoping to get inside of comics. And it would be this: even if you think or know that a lot of the people who are complaining about comics are absolute dipshits, even if that's what you believe, and in some cases you may be right. Some of them are. I see people posting things that are blatantly false and not true, and they'll take a panel, from 25 years ago, like, this is why comics are trash, not realizing that what they're looking at is like early Jim Lee. I posted a panel like a year or two ago from Jim Lee's Mockingbird story. And I wasn't trying to do a big troll or fake. I was like, hey, check out this panel. And this is, this is early in a career. Imagine where it can go. And there's a decent amount of people. I didn't say who it was, because that was kind of my point. And there's a lot of people like, yeah, this is why current Marvel comics are trash. It's like, this is Jim Lee from Solo Avengers. What is wrong with you? I saw somebody else. It wasn't that Exalted Speed guy. Somebody who did a similar thing with early Todd McFarlane. And like, look, that. So the people who jump on that kind of stuff are dumb. No mistake about it. Those people are not helpful or productive for anything. But regardless of that, if you work inside of comics, you need to understand that for your own self-interest, going to war with those people isn't helpful. It doesn't help you. The statement that was made at the end of that mail, there seems to be more interest in complaining or looking at the industry, pro or con, than there is about the comics themselves. And that's where I go back to where I started this video. Comic books can be anything. It's an unlimited universe of possibility. And that is awesome. There's so many great things that could be told. It should piss everyone off that the topic of conversation in a lot of cases is not about that endless possibility, but is about, is CG a hate group or not? Is Dan Slott too fat? Yes. But anyway, but those kinds of dumb things, they don't matter. And when I say they don't matter, of course they matter to people who are upset by it and irritated by it. Maybe not the fat part, but the other things for sure. I get it. Nobody's telling anyone that their feelings aren't relevant. They are. It's just that should be the shame. It should be the shame that particularly the people inside of comics should feel, is despite the fact they have an unlimited universe of stories to tell, the atmosphere has gotten so toxic that people would rather talk about dumb bullshit. They would rather talk about how the industry screwed up. They would rather talk about kind of doomer-like behavior. We can say that's dumb. I just said several parts that are dumb, but it exists. And it exists because people feel it. So, we can happily say, well, people just shouldn't do that. Well, that's nice. That's the same kind of argument as a lot of the, a lot of the violence that happens in the country. That shouldn't happen. Yeah, no shit. It shouldn't happen. It is. At some point, you have to start asking yourself, what do we do to back away from that rather than just close our eyes and hope it doesn't happen anymore? To me, a lot of the criticism about comics seems to come down to that. When you talk to pros, you will often hear like, yeah, you shouldn't discuss that. When you discuss it, it gives it oxygen. Well, I'm not speaking for anybody else. For me, when I discuss it, it's to find a solution. I don't do videos here where I just bitch and then end. There is always an offer of a solution out there. And honestly, a lot of people offer a solution out there. That solution may or may not work, but for Christ's sake, we're trying to find an answer. Again, it would be great if a lot of the fans kind of calmed down a little bit, didn't regurgitate things that are blatantly false, and weren't so. There are people who are happy, hungry, and horny for the comic industry to die. That is what that's the game they're in for. They're clearly not reading comics anymore. Some of them, not all of you. This isn't you. Don't make it about you. But some people are definitely like this. But there's no clear advice we can give those people. There's no clear, like, here's how you should change. You can't. They're just mad. It's the other side. It's, step one, don't provoke. Every time you want to write one of those tweets, you're Heather on toast. You're like, just another reminder that these people are trash people. That helps nothing. You get nice clapping from quote unquote your side, but nothing is solved. And when nothing is solved, it takes money out of your pocket. Like this for the fans, the hard part is that they don't have things to read. They don't have that limitless universe to enjoy. Now, that sucks. But, bluntly, they can live without it. For the people working in comics, you're losing out on your livelihood, on your pay, on your future, the industry you chose to be in. The stakes are higher for you. You'll hear fans, and I hear people, it's the whole "you destroyed my childhood" kind of stuff. Like, but these characters are all characters. I grew up with Spider-Man, and I demand to have it made better. I mean, sure, why not? Sounds great. It's a nice feeling, but it is just a feeling. You can survive even if you're unhappy about the direction of Spider-Man. If you are a worker in Spider-Man and it's spiraling into trash town because you've got people are more interested in talking about the antics of the creator than what the character is actually doing, that's not good, unless your comic books are the magnificent misadventures of Dan Slott. Unless that's a comic book you're putting out, all this stuff is not helpful. Think about it. And please, don't be one of those people who are like, hey, here's Perch, try to give advice to pros who won't listen. Okay, fine. Fine. Thanks for listening. Keep your name out of my mouth. Yeah.